Hello again, this is A J Wildman. Welcome to the fourth video. This is called About the Candidate. A little background on yours truly. You kind of know a little bit better who you're dealing with here. I was born like everybody else. I just happened to be born in Washington, D.C. And about the ripe old age of 6, I moved from suburbia, lots of kids and houses around, to Baltimore County, Maryland, just west of Baltimore City, out in the country. And I lived from basically the 2nd grade through the 9th grade with a state park on one side of my house. So I had both the city and country experience growing up. Spent a lot of time in the woods with my dog because I had 3 sisters. Okay. Anyway, eventually graduated from high school, and for me, I was headed for the military. Went down to enlist when I was 18 and a half with the Navy. I imagine that was prime time. They didn't have a lot of people necessarily enlisting at that time. So I went down, took the physical aptitude test. The next day, a recruiter calls me, and he's rather upset. He said, "Well, son, your X-ray was marked permanently rejected, and they found that I had a severe curvature of the spine, which I wasn't aware of until they told me." Next summer, I'm 19. I get the birthday card from the draft board. Go down there, and the Army draft also rejected me for the same reason. So what am I going to do? I looked around. They had this thing starting up. It's kind of like it's called the computer business a few years ago. So I put myself through a 10-month, 2-night-a-week school, and when I got done with that, I took a test with Commercial Credit Corporation with 450 other people, and got one of 15 openings, and my career got started. So I worked there, worked at a bank for a while, and then I moved over to Washington, D.C., with a whole lot more opportunity in technology, and it was almost like going home. Okay. Real quickly, some of the places I worked, either corporations or agencies. I worked initially at the National Science Foundation, Association of American Railroads, which is a very interesting place. Worked for Marriott Hotels for 3 years developing systems, and I learned about the corporate budgeting process, corporate bureaucracy, corporate games, and it was very informative, and actually one of the best companies I've worked for in my career. Really good place. Again, worked for a few banks. Worked for about 6 or 7 years at the U.S. Immigration Service. Myself and a few other people from one of the projects rewrote the system that is used to check people in at the airport. So if you've been through the airports, that's one of the systems. That's the system they use. Also worked at the Department of Energy. Well, I'm sorry, not the Energy, Department of Education. And myself and 12 people I had working for me maintained the software for the student loan system. Guaranteed student loans, so I have a pretty good perspective on that and how that whole thing works. And I'm writing up something else about how we can maybe deal with the debt issues that people have, the 20s and 30-somethings and their parents sometimes that are making those payments. Last place I worked in the computer business was CareFirst Blue Cross Blue Shield. Okay, I worked the last 3 years of the century working with their Y2K conversion as a consultant. Then they hired me, and I worked for 3 more years doing work for them in-house in Baltimore and Washington. I left there in 2002 to start what I call my Project for America. And I had a lifetime interest in politics for some reason since I was a kid. My mother and I used to watch the conventions and the debates and stay up until all hours watching it in those days. So I've just observed politics over the years, and working in D.C., there was always people to talk about. You could really find out a lot of information about what's going on downtown if you really want to know. So this evolved. Eventually, I started playing with a book around 1980, idea about how to get drugs out of the country. It's called the National Drug Reform, and eventually produced a document on that, 130-odd page document. So I just saw how things were going to be getting worse economically, because it wasn't too hard to see this stuff coming back in 2000, 2001. So I left and to see what I could do. So I left to finish the first book and whatever projects came along after that. So what happened was, 2003 and 2004, I actually had an official Federal Elections Commission certified campaign for president, independent. That's when I really became an independent. And very localized event, an amateur event, granted, but it got me into the game, got me into it. It changes your whole perspective and mentality on it. And now, when I'm thinking about running for president again, it wasn't scary. It wasn't, really wasn't a scary thing. I'm comfortable with it. and I think I'll be very good at it because I'm a problem solver. Now, okay, a little bit of a pause here. So I left there and had the campaign, and then when Bush got reelected in 2004, that really was disturbing because I knew what was going to be happening. You know, just more bad things were going to happen because the doors were going to be left open for another 4 years. And the problem is it actually turned out to be worse than I ever would have expected it to be. So that's just the way that works out. Now, over the year, just so you know, over this time period, I've had 2 jobs. One 2004, 2005, I was a loan officer. Did mortgage loans in the prime of the real estate boom. And let me just point out to you that every mortgage loan that was made during that period all went through bank underwriting. I mean, of course, mortgages were set up with loan officers or mortgage or brokers, but every loan made went through bank underwriting, was rejected, cleaned up, and then sent back. And that's the way it was done. And I watched the banks, just about every one of them, for those 18 months, 2 years, lower their requirements over and over again, because Wall Street had a huge amount of money to lend, and the banks wanted to do loans. Everybody wanted to make fees and make money, and they did. And you've seen all that shenanigans documented on HBO. It's all very real. Okay, the other job I had over this part-time and then full-time the last 4 years, I worked for the Home Depot. I was at first sold appliances for 2 years, and then I learned how to design kitchens, and I did kitchen design until actually this last May when I left to really commit full-time to this. So I'm all in on this, gang. This is really important. So that's really where I was in 2005, and July 1st, 2005, I should say. I started the second book, which became The Second Coming of Common Sense. My father took ill in early down in Newport News in early 2007. I moved down there, care of him until he passed away in mid-year, and then I stayed down there and finished the book and self-published it in February of 2008. It was a rather busy physical year. Later in 2008, in October, I decided to move to New Orleans, and I've been down here for 3 years now. Very interesting place. And as things have evolved, and I've seen the economy get worse and worse, the bank bailouts and all that stuff, I've decided to do this, and I think everything's really coming together. This can really all happen now, and the way I want to tie this in is the Occupy Wall Street movement started like in the last 9 weeks or so, and I've been doing this for 9 years, and I think the grassroots movement of this across the country is tremendous. They don't have any particular plan. They're working on that, and they don't have any particular leadership. And not that I want to lead that group, because I don't. But I'd like to join those two efforts together. And among other things, winter's coming. And when I was in the Scouts, we used to do a camp out every Thanksgiving for 2 nights. And it's one thing to be out in the elements and cold for 2 days. But when you're out there for weeks and months, it's not good. So what I'd like to try and do, and I'll be in contact with the group, and just think about it yourself. I mean, we can have people in the 60s, my group, the 80s, their parents, and now the aughts or the millennials, as they call themselves, work together. They can go in-house. We can support this platform. We can raise 468 people to run against Congress next year, 435 reps, and 33 senators. We can just make all this happen. We can turn this into a huge independent political movement early next year, and we have time to do it. We have time to pick people out. We don't have to finalize our candidates until May, June of next year. So that's kind of me and what drives me, and I haven't ever left this because there's many times I've thought about leaving it because it's been a hard grind at times. But there's too much pain and suffering that's avoidable in this country, and we have to take care of it. We have to take care of our common good of our people. So anyway, that's kind of me in a nutshell. Please tell your friends about this, and go check out the website. The book is a free download on the website, the blog site. And I thank you for your time, and you take care. Thanks a lot.